Have you got questions about homeowners insurance? We've got the answers. I'm Randi Dukes, a Dallas-Fort Worth realtor, and I'm here today with Berenice Mendez, and she's a State Farm insurance agent. She's located right here in Old Town Lewisville because you just bought the property a block away from us, a house that I have always been in love with. And I'm curious, I saw construction happening. When are you actually moving in?
I'm so excited. So we have a completion date of March, April. I think it's gonna look like May.
Yeah.
But I'm just excited because that's gonna happen in the first 2 quarters for sure, between the second quarter of 2022. So I'm just excited to be a part of Old Town.
It's such a great area, and that's actually a lot faster than I thought. I was really excited when I saw the construction happening.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, you're gonna be a great addition to Old
Thank
Town.
you. I'm so excited. I just have felt so welcome to Old Town, and I think there's just its own community, right? It's all about relationships and knowing the community. So I'm just really excited about what we can do together. So I can't wait.
I love it. Okay, so we are going to talk today about homeowners insurance.
Yes.
And I know I own a home, I have homeowners insurance, but I think there are just a lot of questions about it in general. So let's talk about it. What does homeowners typically cover?
So I think when it comes to insurance, people get intimidated by it, right? So they allow their insurance professional to kind of just tell them what they need. So I really appreciate you inviting me today because I think education is very important when it comes to insurance. So homeowners insurance is one of my favorite topics because I feel like this is one of your most valuable assets, therefore you should protect it, right? Well, we buy insurance for our cell phone, we buy insurance for our auto insurance, but when it comes to your home, it needs to be properly protected. You've worked so hard to get this house, and it's just a financial goal that you're achieving with your family, and I think it needs to be something that you are informed in. So homeowners insurance is going to protect you for 3 main things. It's 3 main things. The first one's going to be the structure itself or any other structure in your property. So this is going to cover that house, the building itself, for things such as windstorm, hail, fire. Those are your typical things. It's always going to be at a certain limit. So when you start your policy, they're going to tell you your dwelling limit is $300,000, and that's what it's covered up to. So that's typically what homeowners covers. The second part of it is going to be your personal property. So that's going to be the things inside your home. So if we flip your house upside down, everything that falls out.
That's a great way to think of it.
Yes, that's your personal property. Your furniture, electronics, your appliances, anything that is not permanently attached to your home is under your personal property, and you also have a limit for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be covered for those losses that we spoke about earlier, like a fire, windstorm. I like to use realistic examples like the freeze last year, right?
Yes.
A lot of people had their broken pipes with water damage, things like that. And then the last part of homeowners insurance is your liability. Just as much as the structure, the liability piece is so important, and this is where you need to have a very holistic conversation with your insurance professional, because if you're not properly insured there, you can lose everything, including your home. So the liability portion is going to cover you for things that you are found negligent for. If someone gets injured in your home, if a kid is using your pool and they drown, anything that they can prove that you were negligent, we're now going to sue you for that, right? And the liability portion covers you for those things. The minimum limit is normally $100,000, which most customers are underinsured. If you have a house, you have more than $100,000 in assets. So I call that your asset protection coverage. We want to make sure that you have a good limit there. But those are the 3 things that I like to tell customers. This is what you're covered for under homeowners.
And so just out of curiosity, you said it has to be something that you're negligent for. So if somebody was just walking down the street and they tripped and fell in your yard and was injured, you are not liable?
Well, they can still sue you, right?
Right.
The homeowner's policy may not cover you. Again, it goes back to negligence, but they can still sue you, and then the attorney can find a way to find you guilty for that. Let's say it's something in your yard that you should have fixed, maybe like my sidewalk in the house right now. It has a crack, and anyone can slip or fall through that. If I didn't fix that, that's negligence. So most of the time, even if there's ice on your sidewalk and someone slips, that's negligence. You should have cleaned up the ice.
Right.
So there's just so much that goes into it, and I feel like people don't understand the risk.
Right.
So that's why it's so important that you have those holistic, or that you just have a conversation with your insurance professional about it.
And property specific, because if you have a pool, then you need a gate and so many different things that you can probably recommend. This is what you need in order to keep yourself safe.
And some people just go with the minimum, right? So if they have, what I look for is, everywhere I go, it's kind of funny. I look at, okay, what's the liability here? I'm more of your risk manager, right? So if I see a trampoline in someone's house, because I Google your house, I look at it, I'm like, ooh, you need at least $500,000 in liability there, because if a kid falls, a neighbor's kid, a friend, even just anyone that's outside of your home that you invite in, you're now responsible for that.
Right.
So if you're responsible for their injuries, even a dog, your dog, if your dog attacks someone, you're liable for that, and you will be sued, and the homeowner's policy will cover up to the limit that it's giving you. So that's the great part of that. And one thing that people don't know about the liability piece is that, let's say I have $500,000 in coverage. Any attorney fees, any defense costs, the company will cover that, and that's outside of your limit.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So our company, for example, State Farm, we have our own attorneys, all of that is covered separately, and it's not within the 500. So it's just so important to have a policy and to transfer that risk over to a company or a carrier.
Right. Okay, that's great information. And then what kind of things would not be covered under a homeowner's insurance?
So that's a very tricky question, right? Because then we get into the different types of policies. So this is where I think it's going to be important for you to be informed on the type of policy that you have. So what people don't understand with homeowners insurance, it's such a complex policy. So for example, with State Farm, we have one policy only. It's a comprehensive, it's one of the best out there. Where if you go with a competitor, they might have 5 different options. Anything from basic to premium or comprehensive.
Right.
So what's not covered is going to be dependent on the type of policy that you have.
Okay.
So it's important that you do go over that. One thing that I like to tell people is look at your exclusions. So every policy is going to have an exclusion list, and then you're familiar with what's not covered. So a few things that are not covered that I like to kind of just bring up to customers is for liability purposes, anything that was an intentional act. So if I intentionally burned down my house because I'm mad at my husband, now that's arson, right? That's another issue.
That's a criminal issue.
So anything that's intentional is not covered under liability if it's found that it's intentional. Or let's say there is an earthquake. There's certain things that are not covered in the structure of your home unless you added by what we call endorsement. You're paying extra for it.
Right.
So one of the main things is that I get a lot is water damage.
Right. Water damage is a big one.
It's a big one. That's probably one of our top claims with State Farm. So we get so many claims a day, and for it to be water damage, it's like, wow, I need to make sure my customers are well protected. So for example, let's say what is covered in your policy normally is accidental water damage. That's going to be things you can actually see when it happens. Maybe I left the faucet on and then the water goes everywhere. That's covered. What's not covered in any policy unless you add it by endorsement is unseen water damage. So this is what we call repeated leakage or seepage of water. So maybe there's a pipe behind a wall and it starts leaking over time, and you don't see the damages until months later. It's already caused mold, sheetrock damage, my flooring is damaged. That is normally not covered unless it's specified in the policy somewhere. So those are some of the things that people are just not familiar with. They think, oh, water damage is covered.
Right.
And it's not. So it's just very important that whoever your carrier is, that you do sit with them, you review it, and you feel comfortable enough to take on any possible risk.
Right. Okay, so we did allude to this a little bit, but when you're looking at coverage, it isn't a one size fits all. Somebody really needs to specifically talk to an agent. You need to understand that property.
Exactly.
I know I've had insurance agents who have never seen my property. I'm thinking that's not a great idea.
It's not. So most of the time I meet with customers in their home if I can. I don't have to though with technology nowadays. For example, State Farm is a big company. We have the tools and resources needed to actually see what your home looks like. So we use a tool, it's called an estimated replacement cost tool that we've worked and fixed and just mastered, right, or perfected over the last 100 years that we've been in business. So we are very comfortable with the amount that we're telling you need to insure it for. So it's important. One thing I do have my customers do is they go around their house with a video on their phone. We all have cell phones.
Yep.
I tell them record every room, everything you have. So if God forbid there's a catastrophic event where now your house is burnt down to the floor and I now need to submit a claim, it's going to be you're going to be just like really upset. You have so much going on, right? You just lost your entire home. The last thing you are going to think of is what was in that drawer that was in my room, and we want to make sure that we bring you back to where you were. So as it's just going to make your claims process easier by you showing me that video, and we can itemize all your personal property.
Okay. So bundling. Let's talk about bundling. I have had mixed thoughts and mixed information from people when it comes to bundling. I think we've always heard that if you bundle your auto policy with your homeowner's insurance, you are getting a better deal. But I've also seen where that isn't always the case.
Okay, so it's going to depend on the insurance carrier. Okay. With State Farm, we don't necessarily call it bundling. It's a multi-line discount that you get. Okay. So with State Farm, it is a good, idea to combine your policies. You do get a discount. You get a 15% discount on your auto for having your home and a 30% discount on your home for having your auto.
Oh, wow.
On average, I've seen that discount to be $1,000 a year for your homeowners.
Significant.
So it's always a good idea if you are shopping it around or you're with a current carrier, having them give you an estimate on your other policies so that you can see, is this a good fit for me? But I would say 99% of the time, it's going to be the best choice for you.
Okay. And deductibles.
Yes.
So I know everybody talks about deductibles because that's the money that actually is coming out of your pocket, which people worry about. Do you have some choice in what your deductible is?
You do. So there's different factors that go into your deductible. Most companies are going to offer you a 1% deductible, which means 1% of your total dwelling coverage. So going back to that house that I purchased for $300,000, my 1% deductible is $3,000. Okay. That's normally going to be like your minimum, but you can raise that to 2%, 3%. Again, with the deductible, I tell people, think of your out-of-pocket. This is the risk you are taking responsibility for, whatever you feel comfortable with. Do you have that in a savings, right? Because I would hate for you to not have that money available, and now, you need to think about what room in my house am I not going to build, rebuild.
Because if you are keeping your deductible low, typically your premium is higher. Yes.
Because you're transferring more of the risk.
Right.
Just think of it that way. If you're keeping more of the risk by having a $10,000 deductible, then your insurance is going to be a little bit lower. The other thing to think about is if you have a mortgage or in auto insurance, the same thing. Sometimes they do have limits. They don't want your deductible to be higher than a certain amount. Right. They have stipulations in the contracts. And that's so that they protect themselves and make sure that, you're meeting that.
Yeah. So when somebody buys a house and they're carrying a mortgage, homeowners insurance is wrapped up in that whole process. Yes. We make sure they've got it. They won't close on the deal without it. But if you own your house free and clear, do you have to have homeowners insurance? Is it legally required?
It's not legally required. Your mortgage lender will require it. They actually check up every renewal to make sure you weren't without insurance. And if you were, they are going to put all these fees on your loan. But if you already own your house, I have customers that are like, do I need the homeowners now? I just paid off my loan. And I tell them, you need it now more than ever, right? Yes. So you need it now more than ever because you achieve that financial goal of owning a house. And with our economy right now, not many people can say they're going to own their house in 10 years. It's more like 30 years, right? So I think they need it more than ever, but no, it's not required by law.
Okay. It is crazy to not have it.
I know. I'm like, why would you?
I have a friend whose parents let theirs lapse. They owned their house free and clear, and their house burned down, and they lost everything.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And again, did they have someone to have that conversation with them, right?
Right.
Of why, let me tell you the why, what's in it for you, why it's so important. Especially if you don't have a mortgage payment anymore. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
But again, unfortunately there are people out there.
Well, this is great information. I feel like you've really touched on a little bit of everything, given some great information. I will put Berenice's contact information in the description below, so feel free to reach out to her. She would love to talk with you, give you more information, give them an estimate on their home insurance costs, all of it. So thank you.
Thank you.